Hello people of the internet, it's Amanda, and in an effort to fully expand my channel into talking about other Asian dramas other than Japanese, I'm gonna talk about another Filipino film this time around. Now, my chosen movie for today is Alone Together, which stars Liza Soberano and Enrique, also known collectively as LizQuen. As I mentioned in my Hello Love Goodbye video, love teams are such a big deal here in the Philippines, and LizQuen is no different. This movie aired February of 2019 and it garnered around 380 million pesos in total. Now, as always here on my channel, I'm not a professional reviewer. I'm just doing this to tell people if I find a movie entertaining or not, so please don't hate me on this. Second, I might be spilling spoilers. I'll try as much as possible not to, but most likely I will. But I'll try not to talk about like major plot points in the film that would affect your viewing experience should you have not seen the movie yet. So now that that's out of the way, let's dive into the plot. The story revolves around two college students, Tin, who is an art student, and Raf, who is a med student, and they're in two different universities. And if you're here in the Philippines, you would know the nuances of like their universities, its significance in not really that significant, but sort of like the idea as to why it's relatable for some of the viewers, and it's understandable that their target audience are the ones in college and young adults who are still navigating through this thing we call adulthood. With that said, it's obvious that because we're diving into this quote-unquote romance movie, they fall in love, they share their dreams of, you know, changing the world and becoming these two people who are significant and have this great vast future ahead of them in their respective fields. If you know the director Antoinette Hadaone, she has her past films about what ifs and navigating through adulthood and all these different themes, and it's quite expected that for this one it would follow sort of like that same philosophical idea. Just when I was just starting to understand these characters, we jump 5 years into the future as sort of like a juxtaposition. See that they're not exactly the people when they are back when they were in college. So Tin, she's not the museum curator that she's been hoping for. She's working for an art firm and her boss is her boyfriend. And Raf is also in like a different relationship, and they see each other in this award ceremony, and he's already a doctor for some reason. Like after 5 years, I don't even know if that's possible. My brother, who's in a medicine track, is so offended by the timeline that he became a doctor in 5 years. But anyway, just not thinking about that, it just goes to show that their paths or how they want their future to be isn't how it turned out at all. I want to say that as much as it's smart and as much as it's a popular formula of going back and forth in the past and the future to sort of like show us how things are like, or just contrasting these two different timelines and how different the characters have grown to be, I feel like with Alone Together, they haven't really utilized as much of like the past or the future for me to actually feel something for these characters, or for me to be able to relate to what they're sort of like fighting for. So like here, for example, I couldn't find myself invested in the romance of Tin and Raf back when they were in college, because I feel like it's such a whirlwind thing of them showing that they're in love, that they have all these dreams, blah blah blah, but I never really saw any strain other than the fact that just one day when Tin was already working, she got involved in sort of like a theft scam thing in her art firm, and so that sort of like ruined her chances at a nice career, and she had to break things off with Raf. So everything was sort of just glossed over. And then we jump into this future of them not being together and them being with like two other people. And when they saw each other at that award ceremony, they rekindle it off right away. Like there wasn't even any resistance of them trying to fight off this nostalgia of being once in love with each other. They just jump right into it. Another thing that I want to establish is like, for a film that focuses on not just romantic love but also love of art, especially with the character of Tin, who projects herself as someone who's really passionate about art, as someone who wants to be this museum curator because of her passion and love and romantic relationship for works of art. I just felt really disappointed because I never really felt anything that shows that, apart from the fact that she used to volunteer when she was a college student to like the art museum here in the Philippines. Now, I love our national museum here. Spoliarium is one of my favorite works of art. I remember reading about it back when I was in 4th grade and just wondering about the gruesomeness and just emotion that was poured into this artwork. I remember going into the National Museum for the first time ever when I was in college, and I was just staring at it and I fell so in love with it that I felt like I stayed there for 30 minutes just looking at every detail of the painting. Like, it's just that I'm not saying that I'm the perfect like art person out there. I don't know every single I'm not that art geek that you would know, but I just consume art so much, so I know the feeling, and I just didn't feel that in the film. There was also this one moment there where they were in the Museum of Modern Art in New York, and Tin was faced with one of Van Gogh's art, The Wheat Field with Cypress, and as much as Liza Soberano's acting is on point, like it feels like, okay, she's admiring this painting, she cried when she saw it, and then that scene was cut immediately. I don't know if it's just because they couldn't film there long or something, but there's just something that's missing every time they want to talk about her passion about art. So I couldn't find it easy to sympathize with her character and her lost dreams, when in fact I didn't feel for her even in the beginning. Like, I couldn't feel her aspirations or her dreams that strongly. So there's that. And another thing is, I wish that since she cried with that Van Gogh painting, Van Gogh being my favorite painter, he has his own like we all know his story of being a tragic one. He didn't even know that his paintings would be as famous as they are now. He died knowing that he's a failed artist, and his like the symbolisms of the cypresses in most of his works, like for example that one that was featured in the film, The Starry Night, and all his other works, there's symbolism of that being someone who lives through life, who wants to see life flourish and be colorful and stuff, but they have this like inner darkness in them that they couldn't really explore, which could have been perfect for this film, especially with what Tin is going through, but they didn't use that, so I couldn't feel her passion really. Like, she just spills out facts about art to random people and to Raph and just that, but there's really no feeling of why do you like this artwork so much apart from the fact that was in it. Like, I didn't really feel that, so I couldn't really feel sympathetic for her character. For a romance film, one of the things that I hate is them trying to justify cheating. As in the modern timeline, both of them are already committed to like different people, and Raph's girlfriend were just sort of like sidelined in the plot, and then for Tin's boyfriend being the same as their boss, they made it seem like he's sort of like this uncaring evil person for some reason. And I don't know, like I felt like the story could have like not entered that sphere anymore. Like they could just rekindle seeing each other as single people in the future, and just started off from there. Because what they did was, when they were in New York, they started to pretend like they were still in this relationship from when they were back in college, and they technically cheated on their partners. Even if Raph said that he broke things off with his girlfriend before he went to New York with Tin, but Tin was still in a relationship, and him doing this like play acting with her is definitely cheating, and we are not tolerating that. Okay, now that I've gotten that out of the way, I felt like this film had potential. It really wanted to relate to people who aspire too much, who's too ideal, only to be hit with the real world and tell you that, you know, that's not how things actually work. And I think that would resonate with a lot of people. It's just that they wanted to talk about so many different themes at once, and that we never really got to establish or feel for these characters, at least for me. Like, they wanted to focus more on, okay, Tin is so fixated on loving art and stuff like that, but they didn't really give enough foundation for that, feel that passion. Now for Raph, I couldn't really understand his own struggles, apart from the fact that when he was a student, he's not as driven as Tin, but then eventually things work out his way. And now he's a dedicated doctor, even if the timeline of that is still very much questionable. But there's just not enough for me to relate to these characters or to sympathize with them for me to like shed tears when they're shedding tears on screen. Another thing is that as much as the themes or the ideas of the movie provide to be very promising, provide to be very thought-provoking, and I don't know, like to tug on your heartstrings, you just wouldn't feel that because of all the different things that are still happening. Like, we have a convoluted love thing happening here. There's this, he has a girlfriend, but we don't really feel anything. We don't even know anything about her other than the fact that for some reason she gets pregnant, and I don't know how that's just brushed off for some reason. Like, there's just a lot of like things happening here that would have, like, the movie could have gone without, and it would have given us a more cohesive story. Then again, I think the bottom line is, for a movie that focuses on artworks, it could have made do with similarities of why Tin was so drawn to these artworks. Like, beyond the canvas, what does she feel that makes her love art? Like, I don't see any of that. I felt like she's this person who knows art on a technical level, but I don't understand why she's so frustrated with her dream of not becoming a museum curator when she works for an art firm. And I felt like everything that she's shown so far of how passionate she is about art, but being too factual about it, she fits the art firm setup really well. So I don't know, like, there's just so many things that it wants to tell us, but it just doesn't connect emotionally. I think that's what I want to say here. Yeah, so that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you've seen it, please tell me your thoughts down in the comments below, or if you have any negative reactions about everything that I have to say here, feel free to do so. This video, thumbs up if you like it, and if you're new to my channel and you would want to hear more from me, please hit subscribe. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll be seeing you again soon in a new one.